everybody, to our New Faces talk today. We are very excited because this is a very special round, and we got a pretty good mix between ladies and gentlemen today. And let's just get straight into it and start with our topic. So when we think about change, we often imagine revolutions, big moments that make headlines. But Oman tells a different story. Change here is often quieter. It happens through education, through leadership, through people who open doors for others, through women who choose careers but barely existed a generation ago. And that's exactly why I'm so excited about today's panel. It's a really special topic. It's about our tourism industry. It is about resilience. It is about women, not the feminist style. It's about the chances and opportunities. Because every person here in this panel today has experienced this transformation from a completely different perspective. So let's meet them. First of all, I would like to introduce, for those who don't know, this wonderful lady, Lore König. She's our first speaker, and nobody knows she knows the Oman not as a visitor, but she knows it as her home. Long before conversations about female leadership became mainstream, Lore was already building an international career with one of the world's most respected luxury hospitality brands like Shangri-La and others before taking on defining leadership role at the JD Muscat. Over more than 2 decades in the Gulf region, she didn't just witness Oman's transformation, she became part of it. She built teams, developed people, and helped shape one of the country's most iconic luxury hotels into a benchmark. I've always believed that the best leaders don't just build successful businesses, they build people. That's exactly what Lore has done throughout her career. And speaking on behalf of all us at the Lobsters, we are the incredible proud ones, lucky ones, and grateful ones that she has chosen to continue her journey with us. And this introduction took a little bit longer by purpose because, Lore, you deserve it. You are special. And thank you for everything you do. So please welcome Lore. We continue with another wonderful lady, Zahraa Al-Hasni. She is really special. I have to say, I don't know you so long, but Philip told me about you and his eyes were shining, and you are really such a special role model here. You represent a new generation of Omani women. Curious about the world from an early age, Zahraa chose to study German, a rather unusual path in the Oman, and later you even spent some months in Munich. She grew up in a lively family with 9 siblings and more than 60 cousins, a childhood shaped by togetherness, strong family values, and I'm assuming a lot of family celebrations. There's a lot going on there. Today, Zahraa combines that strong sense of community with a genuine curiosity about the world in her role as a tour guide. She introduces visitors not only to the breathtaking beauty of her country, but also to its people, its tradition, and her own everyday life, and offering insights that no guidebook could ever provide. So Zahraa will give us her insight, very exciting. And Zahraa is one of the new faces of Oman, for sure. Then, welcome, Zahraa. So, then I would like to introduce Philip, who doesn't know, probably also need no introduction. When preparing for today's conversation, I came across a personal LinkedIn reflection of Philip he recently shared, and he wrote that if his career were a house, it was women who laid the foundation, drew the plans, and gave him the confidence to build it, from his mother, his twin sisters, and his first mentors to inspiring hospitality leaders like maybe Lore and today colleagues like Zahraa. I thought that was a beautiful metaphor because while Philip is known for creating extraordinary journeys through Oman as the founder of Take Memories, Canvas Club, and Silent Sands, so an entrepreneur par excellence, what truly drives him are the people behind those journeys. He believes authentic travel begins with authentic people, and that creating opportunities for talented individuals is just as important as creating unforgettable experiences. And this is what he does very, very well. So please welcome Philip today. And last but not least, our gentleman Stefan Hein. Our final guest brings a perspective that begins long before anyone boards a plane to Oman. Stefan is a destination expert. Every day he talks to buyers, event planners, and travel professionals across Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. He hears their expectations, their questions, and sometimes their misconceptions. That's also something we definitely need to talk about. His role isn't simply to promote a destination, it's to tell a story. A story of a country that is evolving with confidence while remaining true to its identity. He has a fantastic background. He has been working for award-winning hotels and some of the most European, most successful hotel brands. And now he helps position Oman in the international market, not just as a place to visit, but as a place to understand. So very exciting. We have here our fantastic round today. It's always important for me to open the door for you guys because you are special and you are here in the talk with our wonderful community. So I would love to start with Zahraa. Don't be scared, my darling. You are going to do very well, and I'm going to throw you into the cold water now. So, Zahraa, when people hear your story, which maybe you want to repeat a little bit, you come from a family with 9, etc. It sounds like someone who has always been curious about the world. Growing up in this family with 9 siblings and more than 60 cousins, I love this. Was that curiosity always encouraged, or did you sometimes have to carve your own path against all odds? How was this for you? Was this a tough journey?
Hello, everyone. First, thank you for inviting me in this meet. And yes, grew up in a big family with 9 siblings and more than 60 cousins. It's always a chaos, but also fun. Always like a party every weekend. So yeah, actually, it's a mix of both. Always like a curious about different culture, different languages, and different people. I like to meet the different people always. So I think that's why I chose to study German. It's not a normal kind of major. A lot of people they don't like. They ask me like, why German? Like. And
Mhm.
also, when I start to work as a tour guide, always like the question like, tour guiding is not something normal for a women's or for Omanis. So why you chose that? So I think the curiosity of that lead me to be a tour guide or study different language. And also I make also my own path because always like the community, the family, they have their own ideas about the sector, the job I need to work with, and so on. So I need to let them know that there is a different choices also in this world. The world is big and there is a different opportunities. So always like I have to work hard to choose my path and then let them see what's the opportunity for a young lady or a young woman here in Oman. So it's a
Yeah,
mix, I think, between the both of,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And I spoke German with Al-Sara the other day, and I can tell you it's fantastic. It's the pronunciation, everything, really, really very good job. Amazing. Now, Laurie, I would like to ask you, you've spent more than 20 years in senior leadership, 9 of them, I think, if I'm correct, in the Oman. So looking back, what has changed most for women in business and what has surprisingly stayed exactly the same through all this time? What would you say?
Well, yeah, I came to Oman in February 2004, so that's a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
And it was already impressive then, having come from Dubai, contrast, total contrast. Um, how many women were already supported in education? The former Sultan Qaboos, God rest his soul, was very much interested in building universities and encouraged openly that both women and boys should actually go and have an education. And it was reluctant, I think, at first, but they all loved the Sultan and they all listened to what the Sultan had to say. And I see Zahraa is nodding. I'm not telling any porcupines here. So the universities almost soon became too small and they had to add to it because everybody wanted to learn and be educated. And it was so refreshing to see already how much the girls were being equally treated as the boys in Oman. Plus the fact, during my first years there, it was astonishing that even in the government, there is sort of a semi-parliament, and already there were 10 women and as ministers included, which is unheard of at that time in the Middle East. So I think education has become a big point for everybody, and everyone saw the importance of it. And of course, if you work for the government, you have a lot of wonderful benefits. I'm sure that hasn't changed. And the desire of all the youngsters when they finish their college or their studies would love to work in the ministries, but a lot of them also went into hospitality. And there was a school, a hospitality school, the British-run one, and we frequently had the students come for work experiences, and some of them made a wonderful career. I had one lady at reception, an Omani lady. She was the first one of ladies coming to reception. And her father had told her, you're not allowed to work in the evenings. You have to be home by 6 o'clock before the sun sets. But she fought her point, and besides doing shift work, night shift, early shifts, she was a wonderful lady. She went on to educate herself further and learning, like Zahraa. She learned, I think, French, if I remember rightly. Today, I found out she is now the director of rooms in a very reputable hotel in Salalah, and I'm very proud of her, and she really fought her corner. So it's a great development that has happened over the years.
Fantastic. Thank you. Philip, Silent Sands and your companies in Oman have consciously created opportunities for Omani women in tourism. You're really looking into it deeply. Was that more a business decision because there was no other employees or so? Or is that a personal belief or both?
Yeah, well, I think it was both. As you already mentioned in the introduction, I always work with women. All my ex-bosses have been women, and tourism in Germany is super female-driven, I believe. I don't know how many women you have at Lobster, but I guess it is probably 70, 80%.
True.
With Take Memories, it's the same. And then I came to Oman, and it was the complete opposite. It was super male-dominated, especially with experts as well. So I had my lovely Indian team. I love them all, but they were staring into the computers, and it wasn't really a lively environment, I would say. And something was definitely missing, which for me was the women. And yeah, I mean, women, they do have it harder everywhere in the world, I believe. In the Middle East, for sure, a lot more. They're not equal in pay, sometimes not in respect either. And they definitely don't have a head start. And I believe, yeah, I didn't want to participate in that system from a personal point of view. And I think it's crucial to have a balance. I think it's great for the team dynamics. And yeah, as per my own experience, there's also a lot of things that women can do better than men, but that's a different story. And it's not only Omanis, it's actually also expats. I think we're the only company in tourism sector, like at least for the DMCs, that has a 50-50 ratio almost in the team. So it's a lot of women that came to Oman as a +1 because their husbands, they signed for I don't know, a hotel job as directors or so. We do have 2 ladies that are with their husbands, and they're working for 2 very well-known hotels in Oman, but they didn't, want to stay a +1 or a mother. So they are also skilled, and they want to gain confidence again, and they want to work. So we do also employ a lot of experts. And if you look at our offices, I think it's the most greenest office with beautiful plants and flowers everywhere. Now we had an amazing artist invited to the office who's drawing the story of Oman in the office. It's super lively. It's more like a marketplace, and I think the men they wouldn't want to miss all the ladies because it's much more fun at work, and they are challenging each other. So I think from this point of view, that was also really important and is very beneficial to us. And from a commercial perspective, of course, it's also an advantage because no one really actively offers women-led tours and women-led experiences. And for sure, that's one of our USPs, and this is what people want. This is what tourists are curious in. They want to challenge their prejudice, and they're so curious about it. So, of course, this also helped us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I would also, if I have a tour guide and have a lady, I would ask her completely different questions than I would ask a guy. That's a big, absolutely, as a woman, definitely. Very cool. Stefan, you represent Oman. When you first talk to buyers, event planners, or travel professionals, what assumptions do they still have about Oman, and especially about the role of women that simply don't match reality? Is this still the case? Is this something that's happening, or how do you see that?
Many conversations are starting, with a very different assumptions. So they kind of think that we are very much the same or very much alike our neighbors, glittery, artificial, and kind of very restrictive, which, in reality is totally different. We are quiet, we are authentic. And, this might be like in the exploring like the frankincense area in Dufour, going up into the mountains, or like, exploring fjords. And this is something very different, which people don't kind of understand. Going to the point about your question regarding the role about women specifically, most of the visitors, when they're there, they're really surprised about kind of, as we already heard, a woman being a tour guide, Omani ladies running really high-end boutique properties, but also like ministries, ministers like in high role positions that are female. So it's kind of a really like an authentic part that, the women's are part in there. And honestly, one of my favorite points is after any buyer or traveler has been to Oman, is how surprised they are. You can do it after 24 hours within the country. You already feel and see immediately a difference to what you kind of have this assumption to what actually reality is. And that makes it, from my opinion, like a really authentic experience and like a very different place in the region.
Absolutely. Zahraa, today you are one of a growing number of Omani women working as a tour guide. When your guests first meet you at the airport, are they sometimes surprised that their guide is a young Omani woman? I think you're 29, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, oh my gosh, you've done so many things. So, and how does that perception change by the end of the journey? Do they trust when they arrive, or are they saying, oh my God, who is she? Or how is this happening? How is this going?
Well, yes, a lot of guests, when they meet me first at the airport, they were like always surprised. I think always like the guests coming to Oman or to the Middle East, they have the image about the country. And I am the first person to meet. And if it's like a young Omani woman, it's a different kind of story, what they have in mind and what they saw in the airport. They always like surprise. If it's like a group or women's group, it's a different surprises. And if they are couple, also different surprises. They always like happy to see an Omani tour guides. They always like ask me like, when did you start this? And when they saw me also like speaking German, it's like when I greet them like Servus or whatever, and they ask, oh, she speaks German also. And then I invite them to the car, and they saw me also driving the car. They are, oh, what's going on here? Like also driving the car. So it's always like a different surprises when I go with the guest. but of course there is a lot of like males tour guides. They are expert, they are very excellent here in Oman, and they can tell the story, they can tell the history, they can like, you know, like they can explain about Oman. But on the other hand, like seeing Oman from different eyes, from women's eyes, is also a different experiences. So at the end of the tour, they always like telling me like, now we have a different ideas. We know more like stories about the families, how the wedding, something like what men normally that they don't like, you know, tell. And also when we go to the market, telling them like, for example, different like stores in the market, traditional market, how we dressed and so on. So they are always like excited to ask question, excited to learn more. And I'm always also excited to hear different kind of questions. It's always like a funny question at the end of the tours. Yeah.
Now you know why Zahra's tours, they're usually the half-day Muscat City tour, which is supposed to take like 4 hours to have them back at the hotel, sometimes takes 9 hours, and she drops the guests back by 8 or 9, and they had dinner together and all that. But we never received a complaint.
That's
Yeah.
so funny. Very cool. Super. Laura, you've worked with international guests, all kinds of different characters, Omani colleagues and local business partners. Did each of these groups have different expectations of a woman in leadership? And how have those expectations evolved over the years? Because you were kind of a pioneer at that time, for sure. Right. You are the only one in the family only also that left the country and said, I go to London, I go to Oman. I don't know how shocked your parents were, but coming back to the question, yeah, but what about the expectations? How has it changed in the woman in leadership role through all these years?
I was very lucky because when I arrived, it was just after the Second Gulf War, which was in 2003 and finished on the 20th of January, I believe, in 2004. So Oman was wiped off the map for many tour operators because nobody. It reminds me of the situation a little bit that we're having now. Excuse me, but it was a new beginning, a fresh start, and slowly, after a few months, more and more new director of sales and marketing were coming into Oman, and it was not that many hotels that we have now. The Shangri-La, now the Hilton, was being built. So all of us, we could join forces and say, you know, we need to first and foremost promote Oman, not our individual properties. And each property was so acutely different that we did not fight over the same sort of clients. The ones that liked the Chedi Muscat didn't dream of going to an Al Bustan Palace because, you know, you couldn't have a bigger contrast. It was a matter of taste. It was more the local market that was sort of looking up when I was arriving, and a little smidgen of a doubt was like in their eyes. Woman here, and after only a short while, we managed to conquer the local market. We worked with all the DMCs very, very well together, and they knew that I was German. I made that very clear, you know, tuck, tuck, tuck. So, so they actually respected. And I have to say, with all 31 years that I lived abroad, Oman was the friendliest, kindest place I have ever come across. The people, the locals, as much as the expats, everybody was so kind, and the Omanis were so appreciative and still, I guess, so proud, by right, so proud of their country. And every new person arriving was welcomed with open arms. So the businessmen, a lot of them, local businessmen, a lot of them tended to be also European. And that was the beauty in Oman compared to the country next door. Here, everybody mixed with everyone. So Italian ambassador, the French ambassador, the British ambassador, together with Omanis, ministers, business people, hoteliers, there was an opening in a gallery, everybody joined in. And it was a real cool community, and it was exactly what I had expected from expat life. And it helped learning about the country, about the challenges we all had, but you know, it united everybody in helping, trying to help bring this country forward and reinstalling hospitality again. And I don't think that hasn't changed much. But Zahraa would probably know better. But you know, I really enjoyed that. And the international clients arriving, my God, they were so surprised. As Zahraa was saying, a lot of them come with prejudice. And I have been asked so many times, are you allowed to drive a car there? Do you have to go covered? Because what they don't know, they put, like with Saudi Arabia, for instance, as it used to be. I mean, Saudi has opened up a lot now over the past years. But in those times, my God, it was impossible for me as a single woman to actually get a visa to Saudi to do some business calls. It was impossible. Oman, totally different. And people that were actually quite scared coming to Oman because they didn't know, they were so impressed that they said, you know, next year, same time, we're coming back.
Right.
No, that's exactly, I can confirm that. That's what I hear and feel as well, as feedback from buyers.
Yeah, and thank you for reminding us. All kind of like still hanging in there at the moment with our crisis out there, which is a little bit coming up again, and we don't know. But thank you for reminding us that there were a lot of crises, and we all came through it. This is always, we always need to think that we in the tourism industry, we have a great resilience. We've gone through a lot, and it's going to come back. And
it will.
It will, and we need to just focus and stay positive. I know Philip is suffering, but we need to hang in there, everybody. We got some hotels on board here as well, you know, from the Middle East, etc. We'll be there. Laura and I, because we're a little bit older, we saw a lot of this crisis. So Philip, after working in the Oman for more than 10 years, where have you seen the biggest shift? Is it the role of the women themselves or the willingness of the society and businesses to embrace that change? I mean, as Laura said, it's also a society thing, of course. How do you see that?
So when I arrived, not only women, but Omani in general, you barely saw them in the hotels. I mean, there was this Omanization that has always started early already to tell the hotels you have to employ this and that many Omani locals, but they didn't really know whom to employ because they weren't skilled and qualified enough. I think it was also the not too many graduates in tourism university by that time. I remember when Alila Jebel Akhtar opened, they had Omanis playing drums at the entrance, because I felt there was there wasn't enough qualified Omanis to do something inside the hotel. They had other qualifications. And with the women, you barely saw women anywhere, and like in the hotels and tourism sector in particular. But I think this has changed a lot. I think there's more study programs, more graduates. We have a very close partnership as well with the universities there. And now I feel there's so many of them. Zahraa, who's in charge also to build up our team of Omani women, because one woman is not enough. I mean, she is busy with so many other things. She cannot be guiding every day. So she asked around, and there was her friends coming to the office and introducing themselves, and so powerful, and they knew exactly what they wanted. And so now it's much easier, I think, to find qualified and also motivated people. And I think now there's really a shift, like in general with Omanis in the tourism sector, from treating it as a box that you have to tick to like really recognizing the value of it in like in every level. And as Lore also said, you have so many of them in higher positions now, and there's so many inspiring characters. I mean, think of our friend Adil, who's with Jumeirah now, who's DOS and in the industry for so long, and every single hotel has so many new, young, motivated Omanis and also women. Talking about Alila, one of the most inspiring Omani women I have met is Alanud. She's the experience manager of Alila, and she's doing the stargazing sessions there. The feedback we received from her, she studied astronomy, and she's sharing all these Omani Arab stories related to the stars, and we invited her to the desert, and she's just a wow character, and there's so many of them now. And so that has really shifted a lot.
Well, I think we're gonna open. Sounds very inspiring. Fantastic. It's not that our team is also we are very creative here. Fantastic. Great. Stefan, from a destination perspective, how important is female leadership and visibility for Oman's international competitiveness? Is this primarily a social issue, or has it become a genuine business advantage amongst other destinations? How do you see that?
It's both, honestly. You know, from a destination perspective, we can feel that it has been clearly become a business strength on the international market, because it really gives us a certain level of options to kind of communicate. So we're able to kind of be more strong on that point and rather show substance than kind of campaigning. When it comes down to kind of the visibility of the female leadership, you know, it builds trust depending on the market, of course. And I look after the German-speaking market. It's really important aspects. You know, it's all about like the authenticity. It's about the credibility, which female bring into that part instead of being like only kind of polished on that side. So kind of the female leadership within Oman really boosts us, and it's not a brochure, it's actually real felt. So it's again, honestly. And looking ahead, you know, Oman has a clear vision with the Oman 2040 project, or like vision for the country to develop. And a core aspect in that vision is also the human capital. So that means the physical person within, and that includes like the female within that segment. So it gives really like confidence for the partners that Oman really values more than our neighbor countries as well, and kind of really gives us a strength. So that's why it's both. It's honest. It's both.
Fantastic. Very nice. Zahraa, women in Oman often, we heard, excellent higher education, yet some others never enter the education or remain in the workforce, which is not to be judged or valued, of course. But from your generation's perspective, what do you think needs to happen so that more young women feel they can turn their education into career? We heard you are kind of taking care of this also, but what needs to happen? Is it because you kind of like, I think you're the only one in tourism in your family with your 9 siblings there, if I understand correct, but I think you had to fight for this position. You had to move into, if I understand correctly, so you have to move to the, it's a big commitment for you ladies, right? So how can you convince the younger generation to follow your path? What can you do?
Well, the high education actually for women is like very simple, because a lot of families, and I speak with my families, they always encourage me to go and complete the like high education and so on. But then after that, like a lot of women, my sisters, me, like we study like languages or engineer or pharmacist, nursing or whatever. And then when we go to the like job seeking, or like in we go to the field, like always there is the image about women to go just as an education, like education sector, or waiting for a government or ministry job, and a lot of women actually now, the new generation, They don't want that. They want the experience. They have the passion. They want to work for themselves. But when they start to look for the job, they don't find anyone to support. Like some people give them the opportunities. A lot of people, a lot of companies also, they are a little bit not sure about women's, because they say, okay, we will sign, we will train her, and then when she get married or whatever, she will resign. So this is the image of the business owners here in Oman, because this is also something new for the business industry here in Oman, like women's working in a private companies for longest time, because always like women's work for year or so. When they get married, then they will open their own businesses, or they will changes to the government or so on. But for me, for example, I think I was a little bit lucky and grateful that some people, like the company I work with now, they give me the opportunity, and they encourage me also with my, like, to go out of my comfort zone, because normally, like before, I don't like to drive, for example, but now they just give me the company car and say, okay, go to the desert, go to the mountain, and so on.
Yalla.
So this is like encouraging for me. I know I'm capable. I know I have the power to do things, and I'm passionate of tourism. But sometimes you don't know what's your strength, if you are able to do it or no. And if you find someone who encourages you to do that, then I think a lot of Omani women and young generation, they are willing to do it, and they are like open to new experiences, and they are willing to also do more in the job industry.
Yeah, so we need more Philips, right, out there, that's for sure. Laura, if Zahraa had joined your team 10 years ago, or even longer when you were there, as a young Omani woman at the beginning of her career, what advice would you have given her then? And what advice would you give her today? Was this different?
No difference, the same advice. I think
Yeah.
Zahraa is admirable because she really goes for what she believes in, and against all odds. This can't be easy, and I would encourage her to continue. And I'm so impressed that she has managed to learn German so perfectly. I never managed to speak Arabic to that extent that Zahraa is speaking German. And I would encourage all of the young Omani, women or boys, language is a key that will open up a lot of opportunities, and especially in tourism. It's so invaluable. Imagine a guest comes in, a French guest, let's say, and Zahraa stands there and can welcome him or her in French language. They will be so surprised and so impressed, and they will instantly feel home. And the same goes for the groups that Zahraa will be guiding or is guiding through Oman. If she's able to speak in German with them, there's an instant connection there, of course. So I would say keep going and keep at it. I think it's wonderful. And I hope there'll be lots and lots more people like you, Zahraa.
Absolutely, for
Mabruk.
sure. Philip, many international guests leave Oman with a completely different picture of the country that the one they arrived actually with the perception. How much of that at the moment, I mean, you are an exception, but there's also, of course, other companies or another world, let's put it that way. How much of the transformation is actually driven by the women that the guests meet along the way during their journey in Oman? What do you think?
So I think Oman in general is surprising people. That was always one of the main reasons why I fell in love with this country, and I stayed there much longer than I expected. And it's a beautiful country, so so much to offer. But one of the nice side effects is that everybody is surprised in a positive way. I haven't ever spoken to anyone who said like, oh, I expected this and I'm so disappointed. You can watch 5, 6, 7 documentaries and you will still be so surprised in a positive way. And this is mainly about the people in general, I would say. But because they're so lovely. I mean, they do stuff. I always say like unconditional. It's true unconditional love. They just do it from the bottom of their hearts. I have a million examples. It's not just a saying, like a million examples. Whatever they do, they don't expect anything in return, like most of them. And talking about women, I think women in the Arab world, this is the most controversial topic with probably most of the prejudices that you can find and all the questions that they have before they arrive. Like, I mean, one example, you see it, you know, in the meeting, abayas. They believe like you must cover yourself. You will only see the eyes and nothing else. And I mean, look at Zahraa, how beautiful she is, and looks like a princess with this dress. And she just dresses the way she wants. And if she would not want to cover herself, then she would not want to cover herself. At least for the new generation, this is mostly the case. And by the way, it prevents you from man staring at you like you're an object, which happens every day in Germany with every bus I take, with every train I take. And it helps you to prevent that a little bit. So better reflect on yourself before you come up with this stuff. And so many other examples, like shisha cafes, when I heard people like, oh, you only see men that sit around in these cafes. Yeah, why? Because the ladies, they don't want to sit with the man locker room talks and bullshit, blah, blah. They do their own stuff. They meet somewhere else. They meet at their own cafes. They go out and they do different stuff. So I think this was one of the reasons why we came up with these tours and introducing the ladies, because as Zahraa said, when you have a city tour through Muscat with her, it's the same city tour with the highlights, but you experience everything from her own perspective, through her eyes. And so I think this gives you a major push to question your prejudices, and it kind of, definitely transforms yourself into someone else, and you will leave with a totally different. Women driving, the same. But by the way, even with the neighbors, even in Saudi, I was in Saudi a couple of times, and women are allowed to drive for a long time, and it's the opposite now. There's apps, and the ladies can take a picture of someone swearing at them, and they will submit this to the police. And 2 hours later, they will knock the door of the guy, and they will say like, look, here's, she took a picture of your plate number, you will get fined. So I'm not saying like everything is going super well, but I'm saying there's a lot of changes, and usually the stuff is different on the spot than it is at home. And tourism is about building bridges, and no matter how much prejudice you have, go to the people, talk, have this intercultural exchange. And if you then have still the same opinion, fine, but don't make up your own opinion with something that you read in the internet or some stupid guy told you. And I think this is where women, help a lot to change this image.
Very good.
Sure.
Absolutely.
There's a great article in Monocle magazine, I think September, October last year, about Oman. So a lot of things, Philip, you just mentioned, were just totally highlighted on that level. So I highly recommend that article.
Yeah,
very cool. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Stefan, the internet, very often the international market celebrates stories of rapid social change. But Oman has chosen a more, we already mentioned that before, gradual path. It's not so much into the face. Do you think that sometimes it's harder to communicate the gradual path than, or is it actually one of the country's strengths? You were talking about the bling bling and so on. So because it's a social feeling you have, it's a personal feeling, it's a soft value. Is it more difficult to communicate in the marketing world?
It can be hard to communicate, so yes, but gradual change doesn't produce a lot of headlines. But when it comes down to Oman, Oman never has tried to be like the loudest in the room. It has been very much kind of focused, and it's part of their culture, and I personally kind of came across it as more as a wisdom than rather as a hesitation from their side. The advantage I personally see, like for Oman, is like the change is rooted, it's not imported. So what I mean is like what grows, it grows slowly, but it grows solid. And this is something what we kind of have heard about the conversation amongst the 5 of us on that table. And the travelers kind of feels it. Zahraa said that, Philip said that, Laura as well. you really feel like there's honesty. You feel it in the very first second, and that's, to be honest, it's nothing. It's stage. It's pure authentic hospitality. And speaking about, again, from my side, speaking with a lot on the German market, it's a perfect match on that side. The travelers appreciate the substance, the continuity, the honesty. These are all points we have talked about. And that really kind of gives, in the end, like a really good boost and a good situation of where we are right now. And it gives us this hidden gem, as we like to kind of highlight that. So this is my honest feeling, after having been in the country several times and traveled, from north or 3,500 kilometers through the country with the kids, having experienced hidden hospitals in the middle of nowhere. It's honestly, you can travel so greatly across the country. And
you have 3 small kids and you have been traveling, right? So
yeah.
I mean,
We
3
drove
small
like 12, 13 hours through the middle of nowhere along the coastal side, all the way to the borders, north south and to the west side. And you can perfectly do that without any hesitation.
Very good. So we have a very short last question, please. A short reply. It can be anything that you think of. And I have to say, everybody in the audience, thank you so much. You've been here from the first minute. Nobody left the room. You guys are amazing. So a very short last question, just spontaneously, can be anything. Food, I have no idea. What should never change about Oman, even as the country continues to evolve? Zahraa.
I think from all the answers and the guests' perspective, I think the hospitality and warmth and welcoming.
Okay.
I think this is,
Fantastic. What about you, Laurie? What should never change when it continues evolving?
The authenticity. Oman has always been considered the Switzerland of the Middle East. It's always been spotlessly clean, and it has been very authentic in the way that buildings were erected, always looking across to the other side with a bling bling, and they came back saying, no, not for us. So you have a true Arabic feeling as the moment you come out of the airport, with the mountains, the Hajar Mountains on one side and the sea on the other side, and all the buildings are white and have Omani features. And they used to be, I'm not sure if it's still the case, there used to be the law that no building was allowed to be taller than 10 stories. And when they were secretly putting 12 stories on, it was taken away. Yeah. That happened during my time. Maybe it has changed a little, but I hope and pray they will keep their authenticity. And with all the modern comforts that Oman still has to offer as well, it is just a true jewel.
Thank you. Philip, what about you?
Yeah, pretty similar to what Laura said, I think. My message would be to the Omanis to don't ever believe that that the neighbors in Dubai and Saudi and us in the West have anything that they don't have. They don't need fancy watches or big fancy cars or anything. I mean, the true luxury that they have is their values. It's the nature that they have in the country, and it's how they hold their family high and keep their values. And there's nothing more valuable than that. And no rich man in the world, they will all envy them for that. And we see that everywhere. We see that in the desert when they sit at the bonfire with these people, and there is a millionaire sitting in front of someone who has less money or no money at all, or lives in the desert, but the rich person is admiring the guy who's sitting opposite and not the other way around, and it should stay that way.
Thank you. Stefan.
God, so many good things. So, I'll try to add things which haven't been said.
We are today.
So, I think I felt, again, like warmth is totally the point, and also the respect of the time of each other. I personally value time quite extensively, so because that's the only thing we can't buy, and it's all limited we have. And one thing, frankincense, that's so important. My kids sometimes don't like it because I burn it too much at home and my neighbors, and sometimes the alarm goes off as well. So that's one thing. And honestly, you can't beat a coffee and a date, or like a hibiscus juice when somebody kind of greets you. So these are kind of my three things, amongst all the other things you mentioned already. We should kind of keep and keep our country in the way we have it right now for the future.
Wow, fantastic. Well, as I said, a very philosophical talk, a really deeper talk. I would love to thank everybody listening to us. I would like to thank my speakers here. You were fantastic, so much fantastic depth and really a good warm feeling. A wonderful talk. I loved it. And let's just hope that it will open up now finally, and this stuff around us is gonna go away. In any case, thank you. Wishing you all the best. We'll stay in touch. Much love. Take care. Bye.
Ma salama.
Bye bye. Take care.